The aim of chess is to trap your opponent's king. Checkmate! Hooray, I win! But each player starts with the same size of army, so it's not going to be easy. But remember that if you move one of your pieces onto a square occupied by an enemy piece, then you can boot that enemy piece off the board. Just imagine if you can boot some of your opponent's pieces off the board. Their army will get smaller, and smaller, and smaller, and eventually it will be easier to trap your opponent's king. So you should try to find ways to take your opponent's pieces. But don't forget, they will be trying to find ways to take your pieces. Let's look at how this might happen. In this position, the white knight on f3 is attacking the black pawn on e5. If black is not careful, white will take this pawn on the next move. Unless you have a really good reason, don't let your opponent take your pieces. Black was not careful, and the white knight booted the black pawn off the board. White is now winning because the black army is smaller. Let's go back and see if black could have played a better move. What if black moves the knight to c6 instead? The black knight is now defending the pawn on e5. What happens now if white decides to take the pawn? White has booted a black pawn off the board, but black can strike back. Black has booted a white knight off the board. Both players have lost one piece from their army, but which player is winning? We need to know how much each of the pieces is worth. A knight is worth about 3 pawns. A bishop is also worth about 3 pawns. A rook is worth about 5 pawns. And a queen is worth about 9 pawns. So who is winning our game? White has taken a black pawn and black has taken a white knight. Can you remember how much a knight is worth? That's right, a knight is worth about 3 pawns. So black is winning the game. White shouldn't have taken black's pawn on e5. Let's look at some more examples. Let's suppose that we reach this position in a game and it is white to move. The white knight is attacking the black rook on e5, but the black bishop is defending it. Should white take the black rook with the knight? Let's see what happens. White has taken a black rook and black has taken a white knight. Can you remember how much these pieces are worth? That's right. A knight is worth about 3 pawns, and a rook is worth about 5 pawns. So white did well out of that exchange. It was a good idea to take the rook, even though it was defended. Let's go back and add the queens to the board. Now I want to give you a piece of advice. In this position, 2 white pieces are attacking the black rook on e5, and only 1 black piece is defending it. So white has an opportunity. One way works, the other way messes it up. Which piece should white take the black rook with? The knight or the queen? Let's watch what happens. Let's add up the points. White has taken a rook and a bishop. That's worth about 8 pawns. But black has taken a queen, worth about 9 pawns. So black came out on top. Let's go back and see what happens if white takes the rook with the knight. Let's add up the points again. White has taken a rook and a bishop. That's worth about 8 pawns. But this time black has taken a knight, only worth about 3 pawns. This time white did much better. Why? Because it's usually better to take with your lower value pieces first. Let's look at another example. In this position it is white to move. Let's look at the black knight on d5. How many white pieces are attacking the knight? 1, 2. And how many black pieces are defending the knight? 1, 2, 3. 2 attackers, 3 defenders. So black seems to have this one covered. What do you think? Which piece should white send into battle first? The pawn or the rook? Remember, it is usually better to take with your lower value pieces first. So white should take the black knight with the pawn. Let's see what happens. So far white has taken a knight, worth about 3 pawns, and black has only taken a pawn. Should white carry on exchanging on d5 by taking the pawn with the rook? No, black would take the rook back with the pawn or the queen. So white should stop exchanging on d5. Quit while you're ahead. Right, let's take a look at one final example. In this position it is white to move. Again, let's look at the black knight on d5. How many white pieces are attacking the knight? 1, 2, 3. This bishop is lined up behind the queen, but we still count it. And how many black pieces are defending the knight? 1, 2. 3 attackers, 2 defenders. So perhaps white will come out on top. What do you think? White is already losing this exchange by 2 pawns. But white still has 2 attackers left, and black has only 1 defender now. Let's carry on. OK, the little fight on d5 is over. Let's count up the points and see who did best. White took a knight, a pawn and a rook, worth about 9 pawns. But black took a queen and a rook, worth about 14 pawns. So black did best. Right, let's go over what we've learnt in this video. If you can take some of your opponent's pieces, it will be easier to trap the king and win the game. The easiest way to do this is to take undefended pieces. Can you spot the undefended piece that white can take in this position? Well done if you spotted this long-range bishop attack. How about this position? Which undefended piece can white take on the next move? Yes, even winning a little pawn might be enough to turn the battle in your favour. But what if your opponent is a bit more careful? Well, then you have to look at exchanges, the little fights that happen in the middle of the battle, and you have to work out who comes out on top. You need to remember how much each of your pieces is worth.